Hey guys, welcome to another Monday Night Live with Complete Developer Podcast. We hope we are broadcasting on all the channels. Hey guys, welcome to another
episode of Complete Developer Podcast.
Wow, that was really loud. Sorry about that, guys. Apparently, I've got us checking everything out, and we have a little bit of a time lapse there. And look, there's Will talking.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, I should have turned the sound off. Sorry about that, y'all. We are learning.
We're learning how the problem exists between the keyboard and the chair.
Yeah, that's it's off camera.
Yep.
So, St. Patrick's Day shenanigans. Sorry, let me move this microphone out of the way. We actually had a good friend of ours in town for spring break. She's like a big sister to me. She works at a college, so it was on spring break. Practically a member of the family. But we went out for St. Patrick's Day this past weekend. We actually hung out all weekend. We even went down to 12 South for brunch and popsicles on Sunday, and stopped off and watched some LARPers or live-action role players beat each other with foam swords. That was actually kind of fun to watch. Unfortunately, Will and family couldn't make it out, and I'll let him explain why.
Yeah, so I think it's a complication from the surgery that I had. But basically, I got home Friday night and I laid down in bed and I had my tablet and I'm sitting here and I'm like browsing Facebook. I forget exactly what I was doing. I was wasting time more than anything. And when my wife and daughter got home, I put my foot on the floor and then stood up, and something felt like I was tearing in half across my lower abdomen, and I still don't know exactly what it is. It's not a hernia because I got examined yesterday, and then I went and I had a what do you call it, the sonic thing?
Ultrasound.
Today they didn't find anything abnormal. I'm still in a lot of pain. I'm not moving around very quickly. So anyway, regardless, I couldn't really go out.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just dead in the water. Like, I did a half day at work today, and it was about all I could do.
Mm-hmm. So we've got some feedback on the CQRS episode via Twitter, and then we also had a comment on the website as well. But from Adam Dimitruk. I hope I pronounced your name right, dude. Really appreciate the feedback. It was really good. Called us out on a few things that we missed or got a little wrong. First, the origin of the term CQRS. Apparently, Bertrand Meyer, who we said coined it, did CQS for objects. It was Greg Young that coined CQRS, which is an architectural approach to it.
Okay.
And then I have a quote from one of his tweets. It says, also, CQRS/ES event sourcing does not need domain-driven design. It certainly was part of the journey in the definition. You can use pure ES as well with no idea of aggregates.
Yeah, and that actually makes sense. And I think part of what got me there is I had a little bit of a blind spot. Nashville has got a pretty good sized chunk of our tech here is healthcare. Mm-hmm. And healthcare programming seems like it goes one of two ways. Either people are doing just CRUD apps and lots and lots and lots of forms because medical's got so much stuff you got to gather, or they're doing like really cutting edge, and so they've already gone to DDD before they start doing this stuff. And so I didn't have any experience with the two separated. I mean, I get that they could be. It just never occurred to me.
Yeah, and it's really fascinating. It's one thing we love about getting listener feedback, especially when you know something more than we do.
Yeah.
Like, this is something that I had done some research on, and I'm like, man, I don't know that I can get enough of it. And so Will took over that outline and came up with the DDD and a few other things to go along with it based on his experience. But this was a big learning thing for us. I mean, we're learning this stuff so that we can talk about it and explain it to the best of our ability. Really appreciate getting that kind of feedback. What?
If you hit your hands on the table, it thumps, and I can see the volume spiking.
Like this?
Yeah.
Like this? Like this?
Yes, like that. Wow, really?
Yeah. We're also have been participating in the broader podcast community. Will was on a panel and an interview for the Productivity in Tech podcast. And I was on there back in January, and I was told, Jay told me my episode went to within the top 10 for the show.
Good.
That was pretty awesome. Speaking of guests, we have some pretty exciting guests coming on tonight to talk about unit testing and test-driven development stuff. So it's going to be a good night.
Okay, so we have a listener question. It says, how long of a commute, or how long is too long of a commute? Wow. I hate answering a question with "it depends."
You're just not old enough for them yet?
There you go. All right, so, the thing is it's not that it's too much or too little. It's that there's a cost. And you weigh that against what your time is actually worth. So let's say that you're making $100,000 a year, because we don't want to try to do math live with numbers that make that difficult. And you're going to be working, if you're working 40-hour weeks and you get 2 weeks off, you're going to be working about 2,000 hours. Okay, and we leave all the healthcare stuff out, leave all the benefits out. Right, that's $50 an hour. If you spend 2 hours a day in traffic, that's $100, right? Because that's pretty. You could have productive time somewhere else if you're weighing that against your money. And that seems to be a pretty reasonable way to make people understand just how expensive a commute actually is in terms of time.
I will say this about a 2-hour commute. That is 2 podcasts that you could listen to.
Yeah, and it also varies a lot depending on how much attention you have to put into it. For instance, BJ hops on a bus and rides in. Well, okay, yeah, it's a commute, but it's it's sort of a mobile study hall for him. And I listen to podcasts. I do foreign language stuff. I don't waste the commute. That said, there's another way to weigh it. I said the initial, $50 an hour thing, but another way you could look at this is you could go, okay, what could I do with that time and what would the income be? And when you start going, okay, I could build a company, because 2 hours a day, that's, especially if you're trying to build a side business, maybe you get 3 or 4 hours a night to work on it. You just added, 50% to the amount of time you have available to work on that?
Well, the other thing to look at here is I have coworkers that live out in Cookeville.
Yeah.
That just got married, bought a house out there. And it's because that's where he wants to live. That's where his wife was from, and all that. And I don't think, actually take that back. I don't think she's from there, but I think they like living there. Anyways, we go in 1 day a week.
Right.
So having an hour and a half to 2 hour commute 1 day a week is not that bad. That's something that you're like, all right, well,
I'd rather have that than a daily short one.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah. So it's another thing. There's a lot to take into consideration. There's a reason that I only put one question when I picked this one, was because
it's really a very complex equation. It's like, what can you actually do with the time? What are you willing to do with the time? And also, how well compensated are you? Right? If you're making $50 an hour, maybe it's maybe a certain length of commute is okay and a certain length isn't. If you're making $100 an hour, that equation changes. If you've got if you got children at home, that equation changes, because you don't want to be away from them all the time. So I can't really give a good answer. I would say at a societal level, I wish that the understanding was that any commute is too much, and we figure out a way to not do that very often.
That's fair. Sorry about that. That was my phone reminding me that we are recording tonight, because I got a new phone and I haven't learned how to turn that stuff off yet.
Those Apple phones are so hard to use. They're just so unintuitive.
Well, it depends on who you are. I gave my old one to my mom, and she's been texting me all day long going, hey, is it supposed to do this? I'm like, yes it is. So, anyways. So, speaking of intuitive, the U.S. Navy's newest submarine comes with an Xbox controller.
What?
Yeah. So the USS Colorado, this is the Navy's latest Virginia-class attack submarine, and it went into service this past Saturday from the Naval Submarine Base in New London, Connecticut. Has an Xbox 360 controller on it. for actually doing work, not for playing. The controller is part of a system that controls a pair of photonic masts, and these replace the previously used periscopes. These are high-resolution cameras that can rotate up to 360 degrees, and they feed their imagery into the ship's control room onto a monitor. The idea here is that it saves money and training. Originally, they apparently had some helicopter-style sticks, but those were described as heavy and clunky and hard to learn to use. And then Commander Reed Kopp said, yeah, I think that's how it's pronounced, said using off-the-shelf technology saves the Navy money, and the controller is already intuitive for the submarine sailors. I mean, you gotta think, these guys grew up playing video games.
Probably still play video games a lot now.
Yeah. But they've been doing this their whole lives, so why not use the thing that they've been doing their whole lives to learn this? And it's great. Which also means that they can, because you can build Windows apps to use the 360 controller and the Xbox One controller, so that means they can build training scenarios for it with them. And so it just it feeds into itself. It's a really great idea, I think.
So in other news, cryptocurrency ads are banned on Google. Google will stop carrying advertising for certain financial products, including cryptocurrencies and related content. This is including, but not limited to, initial coin offerings, cryptocurrency exchanges, cryptocurrency wallets, and cryptocurrency trading advice. And the reason for stopping the ads is they are unregulated or speculative products. The Federal Trade Commission kind of looks down on a lot of this stuff. And the other thing with cryptocurrencies is it tends to take away government control to some degree. And you do that and there's a large central government, guess what? It doesn't matter if you're Google or not. And it's supposed to curb false advertising. And Zeeshan Feroz of Coinbase said the ban was too broad. That doesn't entirely surprise me.
Well, the thing is, he actually came out in support of the ban because the idea is getting rid of this celebrity sponsors this and things like that aren't true. He said, yeah, they need to crack down on that, but the ban is too broad to where legitimate companies are suffering.
And out of all the celebrities that should have their own cryptocurrency, I've got to say that I think 50 Cent probably should and hasn't. And it's just that just bugs me.
You know what? If he came out and legitimately came out and supported a cryptocurrency, I would buy some just to have it.
Yeah, I wouldn't spend it. I also, given that Google's cracking down on ads on this, I look forward to the new G coin, which is probably coming out anytime now.
Yep, they do that sometimes.
Yeah, kill your competition in the crib. It's fine.
Yep. So, if you haven't already checked it out, go listen to our most recent episode, which apparently a lot of people have checked out because this is one of our more popular episodes, and it is unexpectedly more popular. It is super dense and nerdy. That is CQRS, or Command Query Responsibility Segregation and Event Sourcing.
Yeah, and I mean, it is really neat that came out and got the attention that it got for being as super dense and nerdy as it is, because we thought we were the only ones that were super dense and nerdy.
Command Query Responsibility Segregation is a way of designing the code in an app that talks to a database. It creates a logical separation between operations that mutate data and operations that merely retrieve it. This practice can have a profound impact on how well your application runs. Event sourcing is a way of modeling your data as the result of a sequence of events rather than only keeping track of the current state. The basic idea here is that as commands are processed in an event model... Sorry, the sentence just ends there.
Yeah, I was looking at that going, he's going to Wile E. Coyote on this one.
Yes, I am. Anyway, they are then captured in event objects. Okay, so the basic idea is that as commands are processed in an event model,
they're captured in event objects.
They're captured in event objects. These objects are stored alongside the current state of the domain object for as long as the domain object exists. You know what? I think I actually wrote this part of the outline right after I found that scotch.
Maybe not right after. Like 10, 15 minutes?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
In this episode...
Depends on how long it really took to get a glass.
Oh, the glasses were right beside it, so it was pretty easy.
Oh, okay.
In this episode, we talk about the benefits of separating the command and query sides and how that can be used to implement event sourcing.
Our upcoming episode this week is another dense and nerdy episode, and this is going to be about normalizing your database. Database normalization is the process of organizing data in a relational database. Normalization is intended to reduce the amount of space a database consumes. Sorry, I'm burping a lot. I don't understand why. It also ensures that data is logically stored by eliminating redundant data.
That's why.
Yeah, like flavored water. It's making me burp.
It's carbonated, isn't it?
Yeah, it's carbonated, but
yeah,
I still don't get it. Like flavored water burps. That's just not a flow chart I'm familiar with, man. So the normal forms are a series of guidelines to help communicate the level of normalization a database is in. It's just kind of guideposts along the way. In practice, you'll not likely see anything beyond the third normal form, maybe fourth, in most databases, even though it goes all the way up to sixth, including, was it 3.5?
There's a 3.5, and there's a couple other that we didn't mention, like specialty ones, so that kind of shoot off, usually around the 3-4 range.
Yeah. Just think of what happens when you have a room full of nerds arguing over something. Like, okay, like here's the thing, right? Like, imagine getting a bunch of Trekkies together and a bunch of Star Wars nerds together and starting an argument about whether an Imperial-class Star Destroyer could take on the Enterprise, right? Now,
I've done that.
Yes, and I have too. It's a great way to keep a lot of people distracted. However, imagine that, but instead of Trekkies, put your anal retentive DBAs in there. Now you understand why database normalization has got these many levels. Like, that's why. It's good. It's just, how much of this you're actually going to use at the upper end of that? Probably less and less. Each layer adds on to the previous one, so you'll probably get to third and be generally happy until stuff really scales. You have weird requirements or something like that. We start this by quickly reviewing the objectives of normalization as described by Edgar Codd, and then we discuss the reasons why you want to normalize your database. And we'll focus on the first three along with the Boyce-Codd normal form, then briefly touch the forms beyond. We're just kind of explaining how it goes at each step to try to make this a little bit less... basically, it's like that Star Trek conversation, the Star Trek versus Star Wars conversation. It's like, okay, does an energy weapon outdo basically a bolt weapon? So, without getting into the nerdery,
you're head down that way.
Yeah.
So to prevent that, I'm gonna wrap it up here. The thing is, we really get in depth into what normalization is, and we spend a lot more time on the first normal form than the rest because the second normal form is just a little bit more added to it. The third adds to the second, and so that since they build on top of each other. Sorry, backwards. It is. Look, see, I'm on this
right, but
side.
up and down don't change.
No, I wasn't changing the up and down. I was getting my hands into the camera zone. See, I had them over here, and then I kept going this way because, opposites. Yeah, we're getting used to this.
It might take a hot minute.
It might, yeah. So, but what I'm saying is that because they build on each other, we spend most of our time talking about the first one and what normalization is, and then we touch on each one, and we get above the Boyce-Codd. We just sort of briefly go, hey, here's what it is, and
here's why we've never experienced it.
Yeah.
In the next one.
Exactly. Yeah. That's pretty much it. So, guys, we're going to head off here. We got to get stuff set up and ready for having some guests. So we'll catch y'all later. And
we're going to head off like it's the French Revolution.
Yes, that is what I said, isn't it?
All right.
Yep. All right. Later, y'all.